Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Shafali. Welcome. We have 560 people registered for tonight's webinar. We had a webinar earlier in the day, and we had around, I think, 400 to 500 people registered there too. So welcome. We're going to talk about what's the one thing I believe you need to change before you change anything in your external life. What's the one thing that's essential to change from within before your external world begins to change? So as people are filtering in, we're just going to take a moment to ground ourselves. I know that I need to. I've been running all day and rushing around, and to center myself. So I invite you to do the same, to take a moment's pause. Hi, Carol from Brazil. I'm going to greet people coming in. It's so great to see where people join us from Boston, New Jersey, Chicago. Joyce was there in the afternoon. So happy to be here, and just take a moment. Australia, New Jersey, California. $130 people here live with us already. So exciting, isn't it? I love doing these webinars and allowing them to be at no cost so that people don't feel encumbered. It's hard. It's hard to know where to spread your finances, and self-care and self-growth often gets the far end of the stick, the shortest end of the stick, because we don't believe that it's pivotal. Yet I know from experience, being a therapist with countless people, how the emotional plaque that builds up within us really has devastating and far-reaching impacts into every aspect of our lives, our financial, our relationships, our health, our ability to find our authentic voice, to manifest our purpose. The emotional plaque that builds up within us is really so pivotal to pay attention to, and yet we don't give it the importance. We don't spend the money on it because we put ourselves last. Most of us women have been conditioned to put ourselves last. There's also some shame or some guilt of self-indulgence involved in taking care of your emotional health. What's that going to do for me? That's not going to make me richer. That's not going to make me thinner. That's not going to get me my partner. That's not going to make me find my purpose, or so we think. But as a therapist, I'm here to tell you that all our work and our ability to manifest on the external only stems from how clean, how aligned, how connected the inner emotional landscape is. How connected this mind, and what does this mind mean? It means all our belief systems, all our opinions, all that has been fed to us by culture and by our parents. How our mind is connected to our heart. What's our heart? What is the heart, really? When we speak of heart, it means our ability to know our feelings, our ability to express our feelings, and our ability to not have our feelings take over. So to have feelings, but to have the power to be in them while not being ridden or overwhelmed by them, to be in heart. If you're too much in your feelings, then you're in reaction, and then you're not able to be in your heart towards another heart. The power of heart connection, heart to heart, is the ability to feel what the heart feels, but at the same time to never lose perspective that there's another heart before you. So to see the multiple complexity, to see the inordinate personifications and manifestations of the other's heart, while still taking care of your heart, right? That dance between self and other, between I and we, are all matters of the heart. So how connected the mind, which is our belief systems, our opinions, our conditionings, our upbringing, is with our feeling state, our ability to be in feeling, but yet to be connected to another's feelings. And then ultimately to that which we call spirit, right? What is the spirit? Is the connectivity we have to something more transcendent than us. Some of us call it God. Some of us call it divinity. Some of us call it oneness consciousness. Some of us call it, the universe speaking to us. Whatever form you give it or whatever label you give it, there is something that we need to feel connected to allow our interbeingness to come to the surface. Because ultimately, if we're on this planet and unable to feel each other, to be moved by each other, to impact each other, then what is all this for? Is it just to go to work and come home? Is it just to cash your paycheck? Is it just to go for another sale after Thanksgiving? Is it just to buy another expensive bag or pair of shoes? What is this life about? And so that's what I'm about to pose to you today as we embark on this symbolic new year. What kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live a life that's more deeply connected to cleaning up and aligning your mind, heart, and spirit, which takes care of your emotional health, which understands the pivotal importance of cleaning up the inner emotional landscape? Because I'm here to assure you, as one who helps people in crisis, that almost always the reason someone is in crisis, it appears that it's because they lost their job. It appears it's because they're getting a divorce. It appears it's because they've lost purpose, lost money, lost weight, put on weight. Doesn't matter what the form is. The answer to their problem always lies in the unearthing and deconstruction of their inner emotional landscape. So if you don't give this importance and sometimes pay for it or make space for it or make time for it like we're doing today, then you won't be able to manifest how you truly deserve to manifest in your life. So this is my invitation in this next hour to take your emotional health seriously, to commit to it, to make a concerted, dedicated commitment to it that understands if you take care of things emotionally, then you can almost always handle any challenge that shows up externally. So the reason I believe that our New Year's resolutions, for example, or our declarations and promises to ourselves, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to change my purpose, I'm going to change my parenting, whatever declarations we make at the beginning of New Year's, the reason why they never stick or last is because of that emotional plaque I was talking about. They show up in the form of habits. And habits almost always trump our desire. We can have the greatest desire, but whether we believe in that desire or not, or whether we so desperately want that desire or not, almost doesn't matter. Because ultimately, that emotional plaque, our habits, our conditioning from our mind, our inability to know our feelings, and our divorce from something more transcendent will always come in the way of our desires being manifested. So no matter what, if you want to change something in the external world, you must have the power and the capacity, the preservation of spirit, the determination of soul, of mind, to start working on your inner emotional landscape. I've come to see that there are three elements that are pivotal in the foundation of emotional self-awareness. There are three elements that need to be in someone's life in order to create sturdy, resilient, and powerful emotional awareness. So when clients come to me and they say they want to change their diet, or they want to become more successful financially, or they want to meet the love of their life, or they want to become the best parent, I often give them a very grave and serious, kind of Debbie Downish answer. I don't just jump in glee with them and say, oh, you want to change? We're going to change right now. No, I kind of give them a grave answer. And I'm about to give that to you. My grave answer is this. You can want to change something. You can want to be a better parent. You can want to attract more success. You can want to live your purpose. You can want that lover to come in your life. But unless you dedicate your life on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis to 3 elements that I have come to commit to in my own life, I do not believe any change on the external level will last long, and certainly will not take you closer to your ultimate next evolution of self. Ultimately, we all want to evolve, right? This is why we're here, I believe. We want to, through our deepest connections with ourselves and others, evolve. What does evolve mean? It means, for me, to become more free, to be more authentic, to give myself the permission to be able to laugh at myself, to forgive myself, to honor myself, and to manifest what I believe I can serve the universe with. To manifest that. If it's cooking, I want to be able to cook. If it's gardening, I want to be able to garden. If it's singing a song, well, then that's my purpose. What is my purpose today in this moment? That's what I want to manifest. Don't you want that too? I know you do. We all want that. To be our next expression of self, the most authentic, genuine, true, organic expression of self. For me, that is evolution. The freedom to be able to express yourself. That to me is evolution. And as we go through our relationships and as we go through our many iterations of form, teenager to young adult to mother to father to partner to divorce to gay to straight to bisexual, it doesn't matter what the form is. All that matters is that you're going closer to the freest, most authentic expression of you. That to me is an evolved state of being or an evolved mindset. To ask oneself, am I being my truest self right now? Or am I being completely wrapped up in the textbook of my conditioning, of my upbringing, of the opinions of others, living caged, trapped in what I believe I should do versus what I know is true from within me? So developing that awareness of true knowing is the only way to evolve. So this true knowing has 2 components, and then I'm going to go into the 3 elements that I needed to develop these 2 components. The 2 components are understanding your past, which is understanding your conditioning, which is what my work is about in the Conscious Parent, the Awakened Family. I talk about how pivotal it is for us parents to recognize our conditioning, to be aware how we are puppeteered by a deep and often abysmal unconscious conditioning from our own parents, our own upbringing, and how this conditioning mires us, cages us, traps us in the present moment. So traditional Western therapies, psychologies, and counselors often focus only on excavation of the past, right? We regurgitate the past, the past, the past, the past, the past. Now, it has its place, but it cannot be the only focus of healing. There's another component to healing, which I will get into momentarily. But recognizing the past is important, but you cannot live in the past, right? You have to recognize the past only so it liberates you in the present. Otherwise, the past is irrelevant, right? So clients often tell me, oh, now I'm going to have to excavate this past and talk about every memory I have and, talk to my mother in an imaginary stool and like keep going over and over. And I go, no, we don't have to do any of that. If we just simply understand how the past influences the present, then the mission of the past is done. We don't want to live in the past. We simply want to understand how the past impacts us in the present. And often with my clients, I can do that within 20 minutes. I can see it in 20 minutes. Why? Not because I'm a genius, but because patterns are self-evident. Habits are all over. They're so clear. I often tell couples who start relationships, it's so clear. Right? It's all in front of you. Please do not expect this person to change, especially if this person is not interested in self-change and growth and incisive examination. I always tell young couples, please bring your people to me because I will tell you in 2 minutes what the patterns are so you don't have any illusion about what you're getting into. So the past is only relevant in as much as they show you the patterns that are operating in the present moment. The minute you understand that correlation, let go of the past. Don't live in the past. All we need to care about is how is my past impacting me now? And it's safe to say that all of us are impacted by, I'll just tell you, generically, low self-worth, low validation, not being honored, not being seen, not being met, rejected, neglected, not being taught to be authentic, been trapped in the conditioning of belief systems of a hierarchy through religion, through education, through institutions of marriage, what's right, what's wrong, through duality. This is the problem. This is the human conditioning. It is the problem. Some of us are liberated to a greater extent, and some of us are trapped to dire extents. But this is a spectrum of what I see in my clientele. Low self-worth, lack of connection to mind, heart, transcendence, a lack of belonging, which leaves us consistently scavenging and hungry and starving and thirsty to be seen. To be seen, to be seen, to be seen, to be seen. Do you see me? Do you see me? Can you meet my needs? Can you be there for me? Can you hold me? The plague of this emptiness that eats into us all. This is the psychology. This is the conditioning. This is the sadness that we are bathed in the first 10 years of our life. So this is why my mission for parents is to free our children from this maelstrom of hunger that we grew up with. But we all know how hard that is. And it's our eternal challenge and struggle to free our children from the legacies of pain that we inherited. But we don't have to be perfect at it. We just need to aspire to it. So this is the psychology. Let me just have some tea. So this is the psychology that we need to understand only in as much as it impacts the present and then let go of the past. Just today, I was talking to a 28-year-old client who I've known since 18, and we're still talking about the ungiving, invalidating, unhonoring father. So I told my client, who's now 28, I said, hey, now you're getting married. He's getting married in 2 months. And I said to him, okay, now we got to see the stone for what the stone is. This stone cannot give you milk. This stone cannot give you blood. This is it. When are you going to now grow into the adult you need to be and take care of your own unmet needs? Because your child is, your father is simply unable to meet you where you need him to meet you. We have to now accept that and release the past. Some more tea. 185 people here live out of 578. Where are the others? What are they doing? Why aren't they here? Okay. So as I tell this 28-year-old who's mired in not being met by this father for 28 years, I say to him, now it's your job. I'm sorry. Now it's your job to heal that which lays broken inside. And you cannot be hopping from butterfly to flower, to tree, to oasis, to woman, to man, to mother, to father, to teacher, to meet that. Now it's our evolution that needs to heal that unmet need. And of course, with people like us, we help each other. We're communities of love and unconditional acceptance that help each other. But ultimately, that work needs to be done by each one of us. So unearthing the past only as much as to see how it impacts the present, and then releasing it. Releasing your parents, forgiving your parents for their limitations, and letting them fly. Simply letting them fly without begrudging them, without resenting them. Full compassion, understanding that they were limited because of their upbringing. So that's the psychological piece that people get stuck in, and it's an art to delve into it, to dip into it, but then to release it, right? You can't get stuck in the past. And the other part is the spiritual component, which is what many Western therapies do not teach their clients and what Eastern philosophies teach. And that's why I try to integrate my understanding of the psyche with my understanding of the spiritual. So the second piece is the spiritual, right? The two wings are the psychological and then the spiritual. What is the spiritual? The ability to be in the present moment, the ability to be completely mindful, to show up, to surrender all that baggage, all that conditioning. The art of living is to keep what works for us from our conditioning, what allows us to thrive, what truly resonates with our spirit, keep that, and then show up in the present moment. Show up in the newness of the present moment with a new self, fully free, fully spontaneous, keeping what was authentic to us from the past. So keeping the authenticity from the past, who we are already, but also responding to the present moment with a freedom and an imagination that I don't know who I am. Help me, convert me, help me discover more. And it's that interplay of the spontaneous exploration of the present moment. I'm going with this. I'm jumping off the cliff. I'm flying with you. Take me somewhere. I don't know where I'm going. I'm willing to explore. I'm willing to go on this adventure. Take me to the edge, while also being authentic to who it is you are. It's the interplay of who we were and are already with the ability to be completely new in the present moment, the spiritual element, the mindful element, the ability to be in the here and now, which is developed through a practice, which I'll talk about. It's both these that allow you to live life the most free. Now, as you can see, none of this has to do with your career. None of this has to do with making money. None of this has to do with achieving anything. This involves a different kind of doing. A doing which will take us to the three elements I was talking about. This is a doing not to do more, but this is a doing to be more. There are things we need to do in order to be our fullest. And that being is connected to emotional self-awareness, which is why you're here. You're here to investigate what can I do more so I can be more emotionally free. If we don't commit to emotional self-awareness, it is not coming on a shining white horse in a man with a red armor. It's not happening. There's no prince coming. There's no beautiful woman coming offering self-awareness on a platter. Self-awareness will be the most arduous journey you undertake to know yourself, but also the most worthy journey you can ever take, and the only journey you need to take in order to make anything manifest on the outside. So in order to change anything in your life on the outside, it is the arduous commitment to the journey of emotional self-awareness. There are two parts to it. It's the psychological excavation of your conditioning with the artful balance of dropping all of that and suspending to the present moment, surrendering to the present moment with complete suspension of what it was. So who it is I am already, but yet willing to suspend that, surrender to the present moment, dropping all of that. The interplay of both is the art of living a life that is rich, authentic to who it is we are, yet fully ready to reinvent, to reimagine, and to recatalyze who it is we need to be. That is living on the edge. That is living your highest purpose, but you can only do that when you commit to emotional self-awareness. Now, what are the three pieces that I have come to realize you need to have in order to create the foundation for emotional self-awareness? And I'm going to borrow from the Buddha. Now, let me just, for a moment, take a pause and offer this caveat. The Buddha, in my opinion, was not Buddhist. Just like I believe Jesus did not propose a religion that needed to be adhered to. Just like I believe Moses did not propose a doctrine or a religion or anything fundamental. I believe all these wise sages, these transcendent beings that came on earth to illuminate the path to liberation, the path to the end of suffering. So when I say the Buddha, I certainly don't mean in any way to refer to Buddhism. If someone asks me, Dr. Shefali, you sound like you're Buddhist, and I'll say, no, I'm not Buddhist. Because I'm not Buddhist. And I don't propose that anyone should be Buddhist. But I do follow the teachings of the Buddha, just as I would follow the teachings of Jesus if I needed to, or the teachings of Allah. So it doesn't matter. It's the teaching that I'm trying to propose. And the ultimate teaching that the Buddha taught, that I most follow, is only one. The teaching of insightful meditation, insight meditation, called Vipassana, which is really only focusing on the breath. The Buddha taught this technique. This is the technique that I glean all my teachings from, just the practice an application of insight meditation. I really don't even do anything else or really read too much more. I just practice insight meditation on the breath, on the breath, on the breath, on the breath. So when people ask me, Dr. Shefali, are you Buddhist? I say, no, I'm no religion. All that I really am, really, if I want to give myself a label, is a very humble and aspiring practitioner of this grand teaching of focusing on the breath, of meditation. So the Buddha taught that 3 elements need to be in place in order for the foundation of self-awareness to burgeon forth. The 3 teachings, and I'm going to interpret them for you because I've made them more familiar in my language, so I'm going to share that with you. The three jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Let me explain. The Buddha is the symbol, the analogy of perfection, your perfection. It could be the Allah, it could be Archangel Gabriel, it could be Jesus, it could be Moses, it could be God, it could be the universe, it could be divine energy. I'm just referring to Buddha, which really means inner perfection, your state of enlightenment. When we determinedly focus on our divinity every single day, through the understanding of mystical wisdom teachings. And someone asked me, what do you mean by wisdom teachings? I mean by any teachings that help you understand more and more that you are a reflection and resonance of divinity. You're perfect. And you're here in this human form only to complete that perfection, to complete the recognition of that perfection. It's because we've forgotten our perfection that we now incarnate in human form to go through travesty and travels and lessons and journeys to go, oh, I was perfect. Now, how do I live in that state of perfection? So wisdom teachings are those teachings, any language, any teacher, doesn't matter, who remind you of your inner perfection. And when you live devoted to this principle that I am the Buddha, right? There's a saying in one of the Buddhist texts, if you see the Buddha outside, kill it. What that means is there is no enlightenment outside. Don't blindly follow some teacher. Don't go to church and blindly pray. Don't go to the mosque and blindly prostrate. No, none of this is important if you don't recognize that this is about your inner divinity and about the divinity of the drug addict on the corner and the criminal in the jail and the friend that you no longer talk to and the lover who betrayed you. What is the point of any ritual about divinity if it doesn't take you straight home to your divinity? So the Buddha and the devotion on the Buddha, the Allah, the angel, the universe, Jesus, Moses, doesn't matter what name you call it, Buddha, the word, means divinity. So your absorption and devotion in your divinity automatically makes you remember and honor the divinity of everyone around you, especially those who hurt you. And if you can see that all we're doing is to aspire toward the recognition and remembrance of divinity, then you recognize that everyone in your life, the child who's defiant, the spouse who doesn't listen, the husband who doesn't pick up his socks, and the neighbor who betrayed you and didn't pay the co-op fees, whatever. All of this will be seen as a quest to remember divinity. There will no longer be the label of simplistic cruelty or simplistic stupidity or simplistic wrongness. That judgment that we make towards others, we all make it. I make it every day with pleasure sometimes. But I also know that that judgment is simplistic. It stems from my ignorance. It stems from my shortcoming to recognize my divinity and the other person's steps to remember. They've just really forgotten. Oh my goodness, they've really, really, really forgotten. But I've forgotten too, because now I've forgotten that they're actually walking towards divinity, and here I'm judging them, so I'm completely out of divinity myself. And who's suffering? Ultimately me. Because even though calling someone stupid or lazy or incompetent is so delicious in the moment, we know that it shakes our equilibrium. We know that it takes us away from lightness of spirit. And we know it creates a chasm between us and the other. And ultimately, separation between self and other is the greatest delusion of all. Because you and I come from the same pool. Really, we come from the same pool. Same source of light, same source of energy, same source, whatever that source is, that unimaginable, vast universe beyond this universe, we all come from there. So who are we fooling? Just because you look different and I look different? Well, that's just the illusion of separation created through form, which is the greatest illusion of all. It's a trickster. You know, Dr. Shefali, are you from India? I'm like, yeah, okay, yes, I am. What's your religion? Okay, I have to tell you that. You know, are you married? Okay, I'll tell you that. Because these are labels by which we come to know another person. But these are the labels that actually take us away from knowing another person. Because true knowing of another person happens on an energetic level. It just happens on a level of energetic decision making. You just decide that you know, and you decide that you give, and you decide that you trust. That's why I say in my books, our children don't need to earn our trust. Do you remember the old way of thinking? Our children need to earn our trust. And I was like, heck no, they don't need to earn our trust. They deserve trust by being human, just like we deserve trust. And we deserve to be honored just by being here. The failure lies in the other person's ability to give that. But do we deserve it? Absolutely. Will we get it? Maybe not. Because every one of us lives with the entitled belief system that it needs to be earned somehow. You know, we're entitled. We're like, you didn't earn my trust. I'm so superior. You didn't earn it. And now that you've fallen from trust, oh my goodness, you're going to have to pay penance. 4 years of penance. I remember one woman said she had to pay because she betrayed her spouse. 4 years. She said, I've been paying penance for 4 years. And I said to her, I said, you've been made to pay penance, so you believe. I take that as a given on some level, okay? But ultimately, you have the key. You get to decide when your sentence is over. You can choose to take a sentence, a life sentence of penance, but you get to decide if that sentence is forever, or it's for a year, or for 2 months, or for 1 minute. So that key of liberation lies within you. But it can only be implemented when you deserve and fully believe your right that you are a part of divinity. You have a right to be here, to be seen, and to be honored, but you have to do that for yourself. So focusing on the Buddha means focusing on the inner divinity that lies within us all. Now, you have to do this every day. You have to, what do we have to do, Dr. Shefali? Oh, focus on our divinity, yes. So read mystical wisdom teachings every day of your life. Every day, carve out 20 minutes to remember who you truly are. Be in a community, be with teachers, be with a therapist, be with a leader, be with a friend, be with your child. And only remember your divinity. Supriya asked, why do we marry? Well, partly because it's on our checklist of conditioned things to do. You know, if we're not married, we're incomplete. Hello. And Supriya, I bet you're from India, so you know how it is in India. But we'll get back to that later. But for the most part, most of us marry because it's just on our checklist. Check, 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 check. Most of us have children because it's on our checklist. It is not necessarily part of our conscious evolution, but it's a necessary part to get to our conscious place. And marriage is a wonderful thing because when we get married in our early 20s, for the most part, we're marrying a remnant of our past anyway. We're marrying our controlling father or our controlling brother or our invalidating mother, our neglectful mother. It doesn't matter. We're marrying a piece of our childhood, which is wonderful because now we're two hungry souls not meeting each other's needs. And now the rubber meets the road. And you're like, oh, I have to meet my own needs. Well, first we pretend it's the other person's fault. Then we divorce, we get angry, we're resentful. And then eventually, hopefully, our skull cracks, not literally, but lightning comes through and we illuminate with the awareness, oh my goodness, I have to heal myself. And that's when you pick up a book and it changes your life, right? You pick up the power of the power of now, or you pick up a new earth, or you pick up the conscious parent, and you're like, my life is changing. I'm healing myself. So most of what we do comes from conditioning, but that's for another time. I cannot get into that now, so do not pull me there. The focusing on the Buddha is focusing on our inner divinity. We have to do this. We have to commit to it. We have to learn this. We have to implement teachings that remind us on a daily, weekly basis of who we truly are. The second component is the Dharma. The Dharma is a Pali word, it's an old Sanskrit word for the way, the natural way, the Tao, the path. Path to what? Only one place, back to home. Where's home? The inner self. Now, if we don't walk the Dharma, if we don't walk on the path, how are we going to enter the inner home? How are we going to inhabit a home that's resplendent, that's divine, that's clean, that's aligned, that's resonant with self? We have to do it. We have to do the Dharma. So for me, the path has only been one path. Thankfully, I didn't have to go through many other paths. Has only been one path of direct insight meditation. Direct, simply go straight onto your breath, sit in stillness, and dissect the mind, right? In insight meditation, they call it the psychic operation of the mind. Yes, understanding your own mind, understanding what is here that is trapping you from being your most authentic self. It requires inordinate perseverance, endless hours of what you may call boredom. No feeling good here, sitting still. I was just telling someone, yeah, while your husband is watching football and eating buffalo wings, you have to go sit in stillness. You have to go do the work. And when you do the work, your entire life changes. Everything becomes organic, seamless, flowing, a vibrational match. And you're like, what, is the universe listening to me? Yes, it is, because your inner landscape is becoming so clean. You're unclenching from things that caged you. So you have to do the Dharma. You have to do the sitting still. You have to do that which allows you to be, which then allows you to do with effortless. The Tao's working without effort, right? The path of least resistance. Now you're doing it, you're manifesting it. You cannot do being, right? You cannot be being without doing it. You have to do something to become the most being state possible. And that, to me, or for me, is meditation. But for other people, it could be something else. It could be transcendental meditation, which is chanting something. It could be chanting many chants. It could be sitting with a rosary bead. It could be prayer. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, you have to go back to deconstructing your mind, which is not glamorous. It's not a feel-good sensation that you're thirsty for. It's an as-isness of life that you're looking for, as-isness, non-resistance, non-judgment. And it takes a lot of detachment from noise, from busyness, from extracurricular nonsense. Sitting, right? I have to tell my daughter at night, she's like, can you please read with me? Can you please watch a movie with me? And after I've been the mother, I have to say, no, because I'm busy. What are you going to be doing? Oh, I have to go sit. I have to go meditate. So when I commit to it on a daily basis, and not just on a daily basis, but also on an indirect daily basis, while I'm washing the dishes, while I'm talking to you right now, while I'm combing my hair, while I'm entering into conflict with someone, while I'm consumed with reactivity, staying on the breath, staying on the breath, staying on the breath. When you learn to do this, the doing of the walking of the path, the Tao's way, the way of ultimate flow, then automatically, because you're on the breath, listen to this, because you're on the breath, you're always going to compete, your reaction is always going to compete with the breath. So even if you want to grossly react to someone, right, you're like, but you've so trained yourself to be on the breath, on the breath, on the breath, now that reaction is like, I have to share the space with this damn breath. So I gave the example in the 1 o'clock lecture that when I'm really angry with my husband and my daughter, the two people who can still make me angry, I get angry with them. I'd be like, Maya, you know, if I'm really unconscious, I'll say something really stupid. Like, what is wrong with you, right? I love to say, what is wrong with you? Because I really don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, what is wrong here? So I say the unthinkable. I know I talked about not saying this in my books, but who reads my books? So I say, what is wrong with you? my love, what's wrong with you? So I'll say my love at the end. And she's like, don't say my love to me. Just, I know you're angry with me. And I say to her, I am very angry with you right now. And I want to like do unthinkable things, break something right now. But I'm saying my love, and I explain to both of them. I say my love, not because I'm really feeling loving, but because I want to remind myself in that moment that what my reaction is about is a construction of my mind. It doesn't really even exist. And by saying my love, I'm reminding myself, stay in love, stay in love, stay on the breath, stay on the breath, stay in the divinity of your heart. And so remember that that person is divine too before you chop their head off. So this ability to stay on the breath automatically creates a competition with blind reaction. And this is the best competition to have, where your blind reaction is like, come on, I want to be blind. I want to like jump in the well and destroy everything right now. I want to destroy. I want to eat that chocolate cake. I want to have those 10 glasses of wine. I want to go have an affair. I want to scream at my kid. I want to yell at my husband. I want to destroy. You know that feeling you have where I'm just like, I want to destroy? That blind reactivity has competition. Now the breath is like, not letting you take her away, not letting you take him away. I'm right here. And blind reactivity is going, come on, let me seduce you. You're going to have a great time tonight. No one's going to get to know about your destruction. Even if you get angry with your kids, you'll forget about it tomorrow. And the blind reactivity, which is the ego's way, seduces. But now you have the anchor of the breath. And the breath says, sorry, not going anywhere. I can watch you. I can even play with you a little bit, but I'm not going to be overtaken by you. You will not bewitch me in a trance. And this is the power of conscious awareness, right? You stay on the breath. But it's so boring. Sometimes you're like, hey, let's just go and have a party with the ego. But the ego, we know, only creates great guilt the next day and havoc, right? Do you want to clean up the mess the next day? I don't think so. So stay on the breath, because conscious awareness may be the more boring way, maybe the less gratifying way in the moment, but less clean up later, right? Every time I've yelled at my husband and my daughter, who's had to clean it up? Me. Is it worth it? No. I don't want to clean up anymore. Now, if I could yell and scream and walk away and have no liability, fantastic. But you can't do that. If anything, CPS is going to call you. What's that bruise on your child's arm? And you're like, I didn't do that. There's always a consequence, right? So you don't want that. And the only way to live in as much a consequence-free life, a blind consequence-free, there's always consequences, is to have conscious awareness in the moment. And in order to develop conscious awareness, you need to develop it. You need to do it. And that's called the Dharma, to do the path, to walk the path. So the Buddha is the mind, to create wisdom teachings in the mind that remind you and take you back to the recognition of your divinity, the Buddha mind. Second one is to walk the Dharma, to walk the path, walk some path. I tell all my clients who start out with me, join a center, join a place of meditation. If you don't meditate, how can I help you? Then all your awareness of self is coming through the mirror of my existence. And I need self-awareness to come through the mirror of your awareness. You need to be your mirror moment to moment. I'm not with you every day. You need to be your own inner Shefali. You need to be that, right? And you need to develop that. I can only do this much, but now you need to hear yourself moment after moment. That can only be developed through the practice of meditation. And the third one is the Sangha. And the Sangha is an old Sanskrit word for community, right? I tell all my clients, you have to join a community. You have to. You cannot do this work on your own. You cannot do this work surrounded by unconscious people. You and I know how hard that is, right? And also it's hard when you become conscious and then go back to your unconscious home. That's even harder sometimes. But at least the salvaging aspect is that you're becoming conscious. You're evolving. Right? Everyone asks me the typical question I get, how do I deal with my unconscious spouse? And I go, with your consciousness, right? Just because you're conscious and now you recognize your spouse's unconsciousness, this is not a liability. This is not something to be depressed about. Better than two unconscious people, right? All it takes is one conscious person. You deal with their unconsciousness through your consciousness. You shine the light on their unconsciousness through the light and illumination of your being. Is it harder? Of course it is. Is it easier when both are conscious? Of course. But life is not meant to be easy. Life is meant to rub you in the way that you will most grow. You can always leave the unconscious spouse consciously. So the Sangha is the community. And because I have seen the power of community in my own life. Many of you know, I think I devote I think I could safely say 60 to 65% of my working day in the development of Sangha, of community. How can I develop community? It could be one person to another person. It could be me to 5 people. It could be 3,000 of us on a book club. It could be 400 of us at a conference called Evolve, happening happening this year in LA in November. It could be so many configurations and permutations of community. But without community of like-minded souls, we will flounder. So Danielle says, this has been difficult for me as I've not found a close-by community that is conscious. You don't need it anymore. You don't need a physically proximal community anymore because you have us. You have people like me. You have other authors who have created book clubs. So join my book club, join my courses. They have an inbuilt Facebook support group always, which give community. So you can connect with, Carol, help Danielle and tell her where she can connect with us. But community is pivotal. The creation and the belonging in a community. This is why I commit to community. This is it. This is why we're all here to traverse this journey called life and evolve together. So the mind, the way of the heart, the way of mindfulness, the way of stillness, and connection with something transcendent, the community, the divine, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. These 3 elements allow for the foundation of emotional self-awareness. Emotional self-awareness doesn't come by watching a video on YouTube, by reading my book or any other author's book. It comes only with your commitment to doing things on a daily basis. If you don't commit 2017 to doing things on a daily, to do it, physically do it, nothing in your external life will change. At the end of 2016, I asked myself, how am I serving wisdom of the mind, my meditative heart, and my commitment to community? How am I serving it? And that's when I was inspired to come up with a year-long course called the Year of the Awakened Heart. It starts in 5 days. It's scary for me to commit to something for a year. I remember when people were signing up for a year and committing for the entire year with a credit card, I was like, holy cow, now I have to show up every week. But the beauty of this kind of commitment is that because I show up, you will show up. Because you will show up, I will show up. And what are we showing up for? Not to be more in ego, not to be more in separation, not to be more in form, to go deeper into emotional self-awareness. So heck, I'm going to commit to that. And I want you to commit to that. This is why I created this course. And the course has 3 components following the trifecta of the 3 jewels that the Buddha put forth. On Tuesday nights, I will give a lecture on a wisdom teaching, taking care of your Buddha mind. On Thursdays, I will do a meditation, which you have the option to add on to that, taking care of the meditative stillness that we want to develop in our lives. And ongoingly, there will be a Facebook group, which will take care of the Sangha, the community. We will have mentors that help you. We will have each other for support. And I will hop on every day and every week and give Facebook Lives there for further inspiration, to further galvanize not just your growth, but my growth. And then through my growth, your growth. And through your growth, my growth. So this is now going to be an interdependent cyclical relationship. This is going to be community at the ultimate level. So this is not a pledge for you to join my course. I'm just telling you about it, that it does start in 5 days. And if you do join within the next 24 or 48 hours, then you get a couple of free webinars. So join. But it's mostly to reiterate that it takes commitment. You are important. Your life is important. This life form that you've been given is one. Your life will be in multiple forms, but this form, one. Use it well. Use it wisely. Use it fully. With the wisdom to understand that unless things do not galvanize and catalyze on the emotional level, internal level, the mental emotional level, the conditioning, the belief systems, the emptiness, the void that we have in our psychology, we will never be able to be present spiritually. And the art of living really is to know who you authentically are psychologically, and the power and the ability to spend all of that to live life in the present moment. It's both. And that can only happen when we develop a practice that allows us to do that. This is why I'm doing this course starting next week after week. You're going to see me 2 times a week live like this. Holy moly, I have to show up, be present, be awake, be enlightened, walk my own talk during the day. And then you're going to show up, and then together we're going to feed this Facebook community and vibrate with greater awareness. So the Buddha mind has to be developed. The Dharma has to be walked, the way, the path home. For me, it's meditation. And we must be connected to a community that takes us out of ourselves and into the transcendent forces to create the interbeing element, the interconnected element that is really our right. We are here to feel interconnected because we all come from one. So Dana says, will you explain more about the course? So the course starts in 5 days. On Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, at around this time, I will do a live teaching. And I'm hoping that I will take you from January to February to March along a sequence. It's my hope, even though life is infinitely circular, I'm going to imagine a sequence, a thread, so I can take you from aspect to aspect of your development and integrate it always with all things evolved, but take you from an egg, if you will, through all the birthing and the hatching to eventually come out as, you know, the next form, as the chicken or the butterfly, or it doesn't matter. So the emergence from unconscious to conscious. So that'll be the wisdom teaching part that I will do every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. for an hour. Take some questions if I have time. They will be then, the recording will be sent to all those who attended live or not. It doesn't matter, and you get to download it. I think you can download it audibly. You may not be able to download it videoly, but we'll see. And then on Thursday nights, I will be here again, but I sometimes invite beautiful guest teachers to help me, to support me, and we will teach you meditation. We will sit in stillness, understand the language of quietude, of plain, unglamorous sitting, what it's called, just sitting, and learn how to sit and tolerate the discomfort of non-attachment to doing. So that'll happen on Thursday nights, again at 9 p.m. Again, recordings will be sent out to you. And ongoingly, there will be a Facebook component, which will be the Sangha, which will be the community, where we will support each other and enliven and elevate and raise our vibration together. And that'll just be ongoing. I won't be able to answer every question on that because I already have hundreds of people on the course, but together, the answers will come. So that is the intention of this course. If you're interested, go to my website. Let me see if I have it right here. Yep, there it is. That's the link. It's right there on top, drshefali.com/The Awakened Heart. It'll start in 5 days. It'll incorporate the Buddha mind, the enlightened heart, and the community. So I hope to see you there. I hope you understand that this is how you commit. Not by my course necessarily, but by doing something. If you don't do something to take care of emotional self-awareness, I'm sorry to sound ominous, but not much is going to change in the external world. Maybe your husband will miraculously wake up and your child will miraculously be motivated, but chances are they're going to stay the same and you're going to be mired in the same reactivity. So in order to change your reactivity, something has to change on the inside. So Gwen says, I've been practicing TM for 7 years. Would my mantra be my dharma? Since I do TM, do you still suggest meditation with you on Thursday? I can't say, you know, yes, your mantra is your dharma right now. That's wonderful. TM works for so many people and I love it. Mine won't have the refuge of a chant. Mine is a little bit mine, the Buddha's way, it's not mine. The technique that the Buddha taught, that I aspire to teach you, is a little bit more brutal. It doesn't have a chant to rest or lean into. It's brutal. It just is the pure observation of your own breath and your mind. It's more raw and intolerable. So if you want to suffer more, come to me on Thursday nights. I'll teach you how to tolerate your suffering well. So thank you, everyone. Let's see how many people came. 185 live out of 593 registered. So the others will get it in recorded form. So thank you for joining. Good night, and I will see you soon. And spread the word. You can tell people about this webinar, and if they want to access it, they can write to me at office@drshefali.com, and I can send out the webinar to the people who are particularly interested. So thank you, everyone. Take care of your emotional self-awareness. Make that your commitment for 2017. Bye, everyone.